Okay, today this is a continuation meeting from our meeting of 2 weeks ago. So, but we'll start out with the Pledge of Allegiance again.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is our attorney online? We're just waiting for a minute to make sure our attorney is online.
What's this for you?
Tony. Tony or Anthony?
Hey, Kevin. Got Anthony's iPhone.
You know one?
As close as I got.
It's probably on.
Here I am. Sorry.
He's not.
Here, thank you. It's
No.
yeah, Anthony's iPhone. That's me.
Yeah.
Where's your face?
It's probably a good.
Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you fine.
Thank you. Yeah, I apologize. I had to update first before I could join. So,
Okay, so everyone's aware, our attorney, Anthony, is on cell phone online here, so the same thing with Neil. So, you want to do the roll call?
Yeah, so, all the supervisors are present. Today is a continuation of the February 16th meeting. Today is March the 1st. This meeting was noticed in the newspaper as well as on the website. All the supervisors are present, so we'll just move forward with approval of the agenda.
Deb, thanks for putting that on next door. Okay, next we've got public comments. I can't,
We want to approve the agenda.
I'm sorry.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Public comments? I know Steve had something. You be here?
Charles Gordon, Orchid Cove. I'm totally against getting in the real estate business over there. I understand trying to protect it, but the amount of income that we should get from the hookups, we wouldn't get if the board buys it. There were all kinds of comments under the old board about buying the land back there.
We owned it.
What I'm saying is, I'm totally against this
Okay.
because I think it's the wrong direction.
Okay. Steve?
Steve Gunther, 2577202 Peacock Lane. I'm a resident here in Orchid Cove. I'm also a board member. There's been, I think you guys are aware, a lot of discussion about the property across the way. As I understand it, you guys are buying it back from JC so that we can control, so the CID can control and manage what gets put on that property, so you don't end up with something like a gas station or something like that, or something that maybe the community wouldn't like. And that was my understanding of why you guys and JC's desire to sell it back, so that you guys had more control and our community had more control. One of the rumors that's going around, and I've been approached by probably 10 to 15 people here in Orchid Cove about this, is that the CID would take that land and potentially build a community center with pools and pickleball courts and things like that, which would be, that's something could be happen. I guess the way I feel, and this is probably my personal opinion, maybe I'm not carrying my community's opinion, but I would say, first of all, as you heard from one of our residents, there's a lot of people that are not in favor of moving forward that direction. Mine more was as far as in the community center, things like that. Most people are a little bit against that because much like some of the communities across the street, they have their pools that they're paying for and things like that. I don't believe anybody else has a clubhouse over there, but like our community, we pay for this, we pay for a pool, things like that. It's more of a community thing, not a district thing. So I guess I wouldn't be opposed if that happened, but I would think it'd be better if, let's say, the houses and the communities on that side of the road chose to do that, and they funded it, they paid for it. I think that's more appropriate than having the CID so that everybody in this area, and it comes out of our taxes. So that's my input to you guys.
Just hang on a second. Does anybody else ever reply to that?
I don't want to see it.
I would never want to see a pool.
Yeah, I don't want to see it.
So,
What'd you say? I have a pool. I said, I would never want to see a pool.
the first meeting that, when this first came up, I know I spoke about the community center and, amenities for this place.
Yeah.
Now, at the last meeting, I kind of retracted that.
Okay.
And I said, because that was my own personal opinion. But my thought was, is if we bought the land, that we can control whether or not we're gonna have a gas station on it or whatever else it is. It's not gonna lose value.
Right.
As far as, that's where the end of it should be. So it should start out, if the CID buys it, in the short term now, it's community property, people can use it, however they want to. Maybe we put some benches or, whatever we want to do. But the first thing is just get it under the umbrella of the Port of the Islands. Then, we've got all the time in the world to decide whether or not, what we want, if anything, to go on that property. And then, if somebody were to come to us and say, hey, we'd like to put a retirement village in there, then the community can say, you know what, that would fit us. We can sell that, and we could probably sell it at a profit. As far as, and I understand the revenue that we're generating off of that, that's generating around, $38,000 or something or not. But the whole purpose of this meeting is to look at how we're assessing properties. And it looks to me like the vacant properties are paying a lion's share of assessments without having any hookups or any benefits, basically, other than they're in the community. And that's what we're going to be looking at today and in the next meeting as to, and then we hired a consultant to tell us how we should be handling this. Because the way it is right now, we can't get anything commercial to come into this place because of our high assessments before they get started. And I know when they were trying to sell this 13 over here, I know they told Jones day one he had to pay like $250,000 a year in assessments, and he backed out. And that's been going on. And I think that's really been kind of a hindrance to what could potentially go on in here. And it's also the same with the hotel. The hotel is floundering. And I question whether or not that there is proper assessments on that property. But that's why we're going through this whole exercise. That's why we hired a consultant, so that we do it right, and it's defendable in court if somebody were to come after us afterwards.
Mostly fair.
But so, as far as going back to that land over there, there's a good chance that that is not going to be gaining that $38,000 a year on that piece of vacant property.
Yeah, that's the negative part of the CID buying it, because you can't charge yourself those
Right.
ERCs and have those paid that are being paid currently by
Right.
Mr. Sanchez.
But if
There's also a makeup, Steve, on that too. Because if we end up with the property, the assessments, the ERCs come off it because we don't pay ourselves, right? So then when the property sells, just like the land over here with the Lindsay case, when that property sells, there's ERCs that we will sell. Right now, the going rate's around 16,000, right, for an ERC. So we would sell, if we did sell it to somebody to do commercial, they would have to purchase those ERCs back. We're getting them with the property, but then once we get it, we take them off because we don't pay ourselves. Okay? So then when we sell it, we could sell those just like we did with parcel 13, right? Lindsay's gonna have to start paying on those not too distant future. Okay? So we can sell those and get some of that money back. So you're looking at 38,000. We have 3 years on that.
JC's got 18.
18 times 16,000. Yeah.
By the way, Steve, I'm on.
Oh, hey, JC.
Oh, hi.
Thanks, buddy.
So anyway, there's a way that some of that lost revenue gets made up on the sale of the property down the road. So it's not like you're going to
$288,000.
$288,000 and come back in ERC.
One time.
No, they buy ERCs.
So it's not like we just totally lose all that.
Got it.
But here again, I probably should have never said the community center. I was spitballing ideas.
Yeah.
But it's going to be completely up to what the residents in the Port of the Islands want. It's not going to be what the board wants, it's going to be what the residents want. And we will go through the whole process when we do something, before we do it, it'll have to be a majority of the residents want it.
Yeah.
And I would hope that if we ever build anything else in this community, I would like to see us do fundraising and so forth to help pay for this, rather than putting it on assessments, Like, if they decided they wanted pickleball courts over there, well, let's go out and fundraise at least half of it.
Right.
Then maybe the CID pays for the other half. But try to get the people who are going to be using it to help raise the money for it.
Yeah.
But there again, this is a one-time chance that we have to get that property. Because if we don't buy it, somebody else is going to buy it.
I'm thankful that JC is being so gracious, given the situations, and I personally am in favor of us, the CID, acquiring it, because I think it makes sense that we will control what goes there. If JC's actually, he would probably sell it maybe for more money than the deal that he makes with you guys, but like I said, he's being gracious and being a great member of our community, in my opinion, to try to do the right thing for the community. So I'm appreciative to him for that, and the board for considering to take it. The one back thing on the ERCs, I think historically maybe the reason we had higher ERCs on property values is, let's get the guys, one, to encourage them to develop. I mean, that should be an encouragement for Mr. Case to do his part back there. Right, now that he's
unfortunately, he doesn't own any ERCs. The last board didn't make him buy ERCs, so we're getting nothing from him.
I understand, but isn't there a schedule for him that he has to start?
There's a schedule in his contract. On year 3, 4, and 5, he has to purchase his ERC.
Okay. All right.
And I've been in contact with him lately. I'm really concerned about how that's going to go.
Well, yeah.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
He bought the property. It's his. Got to decide what he's going to do with it. I mean, he's got the zoning is all done now. He should have the green light. I'm expecting him to start doing something here soon.
He offered to sell it back to us for $4 million.
Gee, how nice of him.
But he's not in it to make money.
Okay. I guess the only comment I was going to make is on the ERCs. A question, I guess, maybe I could probably look at the financials, but I assume with what the taxes we're charging right now, that we're not going in deficit with the cost of operating the plant, things like that. Whereas I think historically, that that was maybe a reason why there were more ERCs the way they were. But at this point, the port has been built out enough, and my understanding is that we're collecting enough from the populated lots that we're close to, being able to support the operation costs of that plant.
Let's move on with this, because we'll discuss all this, and then at the end of the meeting, if you want to come back up again and have some more comments,
No, it's good.
No, I mean,
Good, thank you.
okay. Any other comments, please?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I just got one question.
Just your name, please.
Yeah, Dave Jarris, lot 25081 here in North Dakota.
Okay.
So the board has no intention, even if they buy the property, of developing it. They're not gonna develop it.
We don't know what will end up on it. It'll be up to the citizens what they want done on it.
All right, so it'll be, it's not just a residence, it's the part-time people are gonna have a say in that too? Because before, a lot of times the part-time people don't get a say because they're not here.
I don't know how that works, whether or not you have to be a voting
Okay,
resident.
so we're talking-
We've never really distinguished that before.
Well, I know, but I've heard, well, you guys don't count because you don't live here. Wait a minute, I pay taxes here, I pay ERCs, all that crap.
I don't think the board has ever said that you don't count.
All right, well, I just want to make sure, it's on record, so.
Well, you have access to us even if you're not.
Yeah, I know, my wife does it all the time, it's just, this one I.
Well, we aren't gonna develop it, it's gonna be us that develops it, we're just gonna maybe,
Buy it, flip it, and control it, I understand that.
Not even necessarily flip it. It might
Just
forever
stay,
be
That's
a,
fine, that's
it
fine.
may.
But I mean, you're talking about regaining the ERCs if you sell it. You put pickleball carts, you're not gonna gain anything.
Right,
It's
right.
gonna cost you more.
Yeah.
And again, there's a lot of communities that put the pickleball courts in, they're regretting it because of the noise. Those people on the backside would really hear it.
yeah.
Okay.
Spell your last name?
Huh?
Your last name again?
Jairus, Jarois.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It's different, that's all.
Anyone else?
Yeah, actually, Steve, let me come off from behind the camera there. The accuser, just
Stand
on
by.
the, yeah, normally, guys. Can't you see it?
Your left foot, sir.
Yeah. A little bit to the right. Anyway, on this subject, we had a situation where a clam factory was going in there.
Mhm.
And I think we're kind of bypassing the idea of having control on how much that's worth to us. All right, we don't have a school here. What happens if somebody decided an adult use business would be okay? I think the community would like to have a little say about what happens on Front Street. So, that's all I wanted to say.
All right, appreciate it. Tony, can you lead us through this? Well, first of all, I guess we should probably decide, again, I know we voted on this before, but are we going to move forward with the purchase of this property? It's open for discussion.
I'm still for it.
Yeah, so, rather have control than not control.
So it's unanimous with the board. Okay. Well, with that in mind, Tony, can you help lead us through this?
Yes, sir. Hopefully everybody has a draft. And by the way, I'm in my car, so hopefully you won't hear too much wind noise or anybody honking at me if I don't move fast, or me cursing if somebody cuts me off.
Drive fast and take chances.
Hopefully everybody has a copy of the draft contract, and it is a draft for discussion purposes. And so part of the thought process in putting this contract together was the idea of having a quick closing. So that's why you see such shortened time frame with the closing to be on or before March 15th, which is the date of your next board meeting. And so basically taking that date, trying to back off of that date, come up with the various terms and time frames for review. The draft contract calls for the district to buy the property from Profectum LLC. It's a Florida limited liability company. And the purchase price is $562,000 indicated in there. And that's a product of some conversations that the chairman and Mr. Sanchez and I had with regards to his desire to get back what he paid for it, plus some other incidental costs or expenses. He has an appraisal that I think the chairman has. Um, the, the contract is not subject to an appraisal, and the initial deposit, if the board goes with this time frame, would be within 5 days of the effective date. The effective date is when both people or parties sign it, when Profectum signs it and when the district signs it. And so within 5 days of that, check for $25,000 would be the initial deposit, placed in escrow with my law firm as the escrow agent. The next deposit is 10 days after the effective date, which again, depending upon when it's fully signed. If it's signed today, the effective date is today. So then the 10th day would be March 11th. And that's an additional $25,000 deposit. And at closing, the balance of the purchase price would be $512,000. And put in there from the time for acceptance of the offer, not knowing Mr. Sanchez's physical capabilities or condition, put in there by 5 p.m. on Monday, March 4th, would be the time for him for the offer. And so if it's not signed until then all the dates get, they're tagged on the effective date, get moved back 3 days, but the projected closing date would still be March 15th, or we could say move that back also a few days. But right now it's closing is March 15th, and with the understanding that contract might be signed today if the board approves. With regards to financing, again, you go to paragraph 6 at page 2. It's buy or pay cash, so there's no financing contingency. The title evidence is that the district will pay for the title work. And I've accidentally typed in 2 boxes right now. It says within 5 days after the effective date, but the box isn't marked, but the space is filled in, or 5 days before closing. I'd like to have that changed to in 8A, that the title commitment and policy will be delivered within 5 days of the effective date. I've already taken the steps to order the title commitment for an owner's title insurance policy. Mr. Sanchez graciously provided authorization from the title company that handled his purchase to send us the prior title insurance policy, which we then sent to the title insurance policy company we are ordering the commitment from. That should help expedite matters as far as the title commitment. And then the title commitment will be delivered, and then we have under paragraph 8B, we have 3 days after we see the title evidence. We have 3 days to look at the commitment and deliver notice whether or not there are any title defects. Title defects are if there's any indication on the property that we believe would pose problems in utilizing it, or that there might be other claims to the property or other liens or encumbrances. And then there's a time frame in there about what happens if we don't give notice. Then there's a survey section, 8C, that the district may, at our expense, have the property surveyed, have the survey, and then provide notice to the seller of any issues we see with the survey. My understanding is Mr. Sanchez or Profectum had a survey from the purchase of the property, and the request was, and I'm not sure if it's been implemented yet, was to begin having that property survey updated in an expedited fashion to have it available as soon as possible so we can try to achieve these timeframes based upon Mr. Sanchez's health and condition.
Tony?
And so that
Tony,
update,
that survey is being done today, and we'll have it in the next few days.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. McAfee, for that update. Very much appreciate that. I understand Mr. Levy was helpful helping you and Mr. Sanchez in obtaining that. So then there's time frames in there as to what the district has, a time frame they have to review the survey. We have 5 days after reviewing it, but not later than 5 days prior to closing, if there are any defects. And defects would be items such as encroachments. A good example of encroachment is the wall that the district has been maintaining all these years. But if the wall falls down, it would no longer be an encroachment. And so it'll look for those items. Then there's a due diligence period. The district has 10 days after the effective date to do whatever examinations it wants to, for whatever reason, if the property is suitable for the district's purposes, or the district can then, it says, to buyer's satisfaction, the property is appropriate. And so the district has that 10-day time frame to see if there are any issues involving the property, zoning or otherwise, that would be detrimental to the district's ownership or use of that property. And these are all time frames, and they're very short and they're very expedited, but I believe they are doable. The fact that we've already ordered the title commitment, the fact that the survey work is being performed quickly, that we could achieve that March 15th date. If there's any level of discomfort on making the March 15th date, I would suggest that it be like March 18th or 19th, the following week, because weekend 15th of Friday, if there are any hiccups, carried over to the following week. The going on further with the contract, there's a section 10A that outlines sellers' closing costs, and this is a form contract, and these are sort of, I'll call them quote unquote general standard practices, but they're not obligatory or mandatory practices. And in any real estate transaction, the parties, the buyer and the seller, can agree on whatever terms they want as long as they are legal terms. So in this contract, we had discussions about payment for various closing costs. There's documentary stamp taxes due on the deed based upon the sale price of $562,000. The standard contract has those taxes paid by the seller. The discussion was that would be a 50-50 split. And in this case, we get to it later on also, that 50-50 split is about $2,000. So it otherwise would be $3,900 when we split it. Then we have the provision about assessments get prorated, and assessment periods are whatever undue taxes or assessments, they get prorated between the buyer and the seller at the time of closing, utilizing the standard process for calculating those prorations. And I can't tell you what those are right now. Just highlighting the additional section, there are no brokers involved. So that's why paragraph 21, we said no brokers, and there's none on page, on the lines that has the lines, paragraphs 22 and 23. And then there are some 4 or 5 additional terms. 1, again, no real estate brokers are involved. 2, all surveys will be delivered within 3 days of the effective date, and all appraisals will be delivered also within 3 days of the effective date. And once they are delivered to the district, they are public records. And the buyer will pay for the updated survey. The 23D, like in David, the buyer shall split the documentary stamp taxes on the deed with the seller. Again, that comes to $1,967 because the calculated documentary stamp taxes would be $3,934 on a $560,000 transaction. And then lastly, Profective, the seller, would deliver all plans, permits, development orders that it has in any pending applications into possession to the district within 3 days. So the district could see what work has been done to date, and what the district also may then look at those and say, here's what we want to do, or utilize those professionals in the future if the district wants to utilize the property for whatever has been applied for in the past. And that's some instructions. Any questions? Recognizing that I know I've heard while sitting in the room that the quality for the viewers and listeners remotely is good, but there is still kind of an echo effect. Maybe that's just my age. But if there are any other questions from the board or Kevin on this, or Neil?
I think we're good.
Tony, I have one question, not on the contract per se, but just on the whole thing. Purchasing this piece of property doesn't put us in any situation for another vacant property owner to come in and say, I want you to purchase ours. The CID.
I'm sorry, I did not, it was hard to hear the question, I'm sorry.
All right, so purchasing this piece of property doesn't put us in a situation where any other owner of vacant property could come in and say, I want you to purchase this one also. We're not
No,
saying
anybody can always ask for the district to purchase their property, but the district can say no or yes, depending upon the direction of the board.
Okay, so that is our prerogative, so to speak, that we can pick and choose if we choose to buy a piece.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It does not set a precedent as to whether or not, when someone else offers the property up, you can say, no, that's not what we are looking for. No, that's not what we believe is necessary. You can say no. You're not obligated at all for any other offer.
Thank you.
JC, do you have any input that you want to make at this time? Mr. Sanchez?
No, I'm fine. Tony and I had a chance to speak. Again, we went over this quickly, and I'm fine proceeding.
Good enough.
Steve, I have a clarification too.
Okay.
Are we in receipt of an appraisal, either you or Tony? And if so, can it be part of the record of our proceeding today?
Well, I was given an appraisal that JC acquired, so that automatically becomes public record.
Okay, thanks for the
Yes,
clarification.
I will give you that. Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question. We purchased this property, Tony, can we put deed restrictions on it?
Once the district owns the property, if it was to want to sell it to somebody else in the future, it could do similar to what it did with the property on the north side, impose deed restrictions and covenants. Yes, but the district, when they are the owner, again, the zoning would regulate what activities can go on there, or the board in its discretion, and after listening to the community.
Thank you.
I would assume the board at some point will look at maybe protecting the property the wall sits on, the entrance, things like that. That wasn't done before. That's an option buying will do it.
All right, what's next?
So do we need to make a motion to sign this agreement?
What I think the appropriate motion would be to have the board make a determination that the purchase of this property serves a valid public purpose, is in the public interest, and authorize the chair to sign the agreement that is in front of the board today.
Someone want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
I second it.
Okay, all in favor of that? Aye. Okay. So the next thing is our engineering.
Steve, just one more item. Go ahead, Tom.
I could not hear from all the static or background. Did the board approve the chair signing the contract?
Yeah, it was unanimous vote.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
And Steve, can we also just, for clarity, have a separate motion to authorize the appropriate budget amendment in order to have those funds on hand to close?
Yes.
Authorize the district manager to prepare a budget amendment that I will present to you and have you ratify at your next meeting.
Someone want to make that motion?
I'm writing it.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No?
Thank
And,
you.
Mr. Chairman, following up on what Neil said also, and Neil, I don't know if you need clear direction, but the manager and council and support staff are authorized to take all steps necessary, including the preparation and delivery of necessary deposits and engagement of any other vendor necessary for this transaction.
Also, if there's any members of the community who think that we may have overlooked something here that we should be focusing on before we close this, please let someone on the board know. So we, because we're all fallible and we could be missing something. So if anybody has any ideas, please share those with us.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if they can provide those to you and copy Neil, and have those provided by, I'll just say next Thursday, so that's plenty of time for staff to look at them and consult with the chair, and then also maybe come back to the board with recommendations or thoughts if necessary.
Very good.
And so I guess, Neil, you believe you have the necessary authorization to issue the checks for the deposits?
Yes, I do, and we will prepare the budget amendment in order to transfer those funds, and we'll expense this as a capital purchase under the land category.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Sanchez, are you on the phone or in person? I couldn't tell. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's remote.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, do you have a clean copy with you?
Yes,
So Kevin, if you could have the chair sign as chairman and then scan and email it to me and Mr. Sanchez and the chair.
sure.
Yes, I'll take care of it.
We need that notarized?
I'm sorry?
Do we want that notarized?
No, it does not need to be notarized, does not need witnesses.
Okay, we'll take care of it.
Tony, can we do this DocuSign?
DocuSign is fine. If you can do it after you get it to Steve from Steve, if you can DocuSign, that'd be fine.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, may I be excused?
Absolutely.
Thank you all for your indulgence, and I appreciate you allowing me to participate by Zoom to help someone in a medical matter.
Steve, you don't need anything else from me, do you?
I do not, but hope you're feeling better.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Mr. Chairman, if anything else is needed from me, Kevin can always text me and I can jump back in.
Okay, fair enough. Let's move on to the district engineering RFP queues. Did we get more than one?
We have one district engineer proposal. It's Johnson Engineering. We feel really good about. We've had some exploratory discussions with them. Dan and I have met with them in person. We feel comfortable in making the recommendation to you guys to move forward with the next steps of the process. As we've gotten their qualifications, they're very, very good.
Did anybody else put in?
No.
Well, then we don't need to go through that whole process then of picking Newey. Because we either approve them or we put out more requests for.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
we gotta go over what they're gonna charge.
Well, that's the next step. That's the next step in the process that we'll do. Bring
But,
that
so
back.
we won't hire them today. They will go back and try to renegotiate a contract
Right.
and have that in the next 2 weeks at the next meeting. So but you're suggesting,
You're just approving for selection now.
Yeah. Exactly, that they're qualified, so it would just be a motion to move forward with Johnson Engineering.
so I make a motion that we move ahead with Johnson Engineering, do the paperwork and so forth, trying to figure out a contract with them.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Back to public comments if there are any.
Yeah.
Deborah Jansen, Sunrise K. Just a suggestion to maybe include a brief summary of our financial situation so that the residents feel confident that we can afford to buy the property. And I'm sort of referring to, we hope to get FEMA money to offset some of our anticipated costs for the water plant. But if that falls through, just to assure the residents that there still is enough money to do this purchase.
Now, thank you, Deb. You and I had this conversation the other day about how you felt and Dan feel about this FEMA grants and what we're going through here. I know that Johnson Engineering is doing an updated cost of improvement plan for us. The last one that we had is quite outdated. So we're going to have hopefully some real numbers on what it's going to take to do the upgrades to the community that we need. And can you just give them a quick update, one of the two of you guys?
I can give Dan has really driven the ship on this thing, he's done a great job. I can just say that everything is moving forward with FEMA, with the county, with the state. Several grants are in motion. The state is participating in trying to help with the well-filled road. We hope that works out. We have Johnson Engineering helping us update the CIP, which is important for us to understand exactly the next steps in the process, but also even as we talk about ERCs, it's very important. So everything is moving forward. I don't know if Dan wants to add anything to that.
No, we're getting pretty deep into the grant process now. In the beginning, you know, the numbers are all there and you don't know, there's so many things that you have to qualify to get there. But we're pretty deep in the process now. Actually, they're starting to push us.
Right.
Our engineers got to catch up here. So it's looking very good. You can never say you have the money till the check's in your hand, but it's looking really good. The state is going to work with us on the road. They're doing their plans right now with their engineering. We're going to co-op the permit with them to do all that work out there, which is very nice. It's a one permit fits all, and it's always nice to ride the state's shirt tails on that one, because the state has a little more power to get things done than for the islands, so that's kind of nice. So they are working with us on that road. We kind of share that road out there because they have some things at the end. They own part of it, we own part of it. So we're kind of co-opting the maintenance on it. And they, last I talked to them 2 weeks ago, they were 60% done with their planning. And they're gonna go out the Everglades and move some berms and things to help relieve some of the water coming through from the restoration project that we talked about over the last year or so. That's gonna be a help. So the state is working with us on that, and they're paying for their whole part. I think they have $2 million right now that they picked up in grants that they're gonna use on that road. So they're definitely paying a big chunk of the bill. We have probably $3 million in grants that we're working on right now. Some of the stuff that includes is the road, raising our infrastructure out there to get it above flood level, because we got caught up in that with Ian. Some of our electrical boxes got wet, they took out our generator and things. And they've already paid for our new diesel generator. They're paying shortly, they'll be paying for the culverts and all the road repairs we had to do. $60,000 or so worth of stuff, hauling rock and stuff out to the road and repair it. They'll be paying for that here a little bit. I think that's the next check we'll get from them. They've replaced the SCADA system in the plant, the computer management system that runs the plant. We put a whole new system in that recently, and that's part of the grant that's tied in with doing the roads and raising the infrastructure out there. But that whole grant right now, we're talking just for the water pipe alone, that we're dealing with the pipe, to buy the pipe, the 2 miles of pipe is about $1 million. And then to have it direct burial, they're going to, we'll probably be getting closer to $2 million on that. And then we have another bunch of money built in there. So it looks really good. I can't guarantee it, and I don't want to tell you it's guaranteed, but it's looking really good. So that's where we're at with that.
And these grants are redundant. So they've put in for the same thing to be covered by more than one organization. So if one of them doesn't let us have it, the other one probably will pick it up. One organization will have to pay they'll pay 75% of the cost. The other organization will pay 100% of the cost. So, and realistically, what we're looking at getting, that water tank that we're talking about putting in, where Omantes started out telling us we needed $500,000 for it, is probably closer to $1 million, and that may be covered. And that's one of the reasons why, and I'm speaking for myself, that I'm not overly concerned about the price that we're, about buying that property right now, because a lion's share of what this community needs to bring it back up to what we need is potentially going to get covered. There again, we don't want to put this board into a situation like we had in the past, where they could barely make ends meet and they weren't doing any of the upgrading because we just didn't have the money. And there again, if we ran into a problem with money, we can sell that property again as well. Now,
Steve, I think our finances, I know that's what Deb was kind of getting at. I think our last report, we had $6 million, is that correct?
In cash, we had 5 million, just over 5 million, yep.
Okay. So, looking at what we're doing and the projects that we have ahead of us, the water tank, it looks like it'll probably be in the 75% covered, the brand new water tank, storage tank to add to our storage we have on hand. For times where we have hurricanes or something happens, power outages, whatever, we're gonna store a lot more water on hand. We needed that to help meet our flows that we have to have for different things. So the new water tank will be covered at 75. All the road work we're doing, the new water pipe that goes out to the wells, because that one's leaking in like 10 different spots right now. We have to get that replaced. It's old asbestos pipe, and we're going with a really nice one-piece pipe that goes from the wells to the building. That's going to be really nice. It has 100+ year shelf life. It's really nice stuff. So if we get that all put in, if the grants cover all that, that's going to be a couple $2 million. Even if we have to pay for all that, if we have $5 million cash, we're still looking all right. We still have money. But the grants should come through and cover all that for us. The storage, most of the storage tank, all the repairs out on the road. We're looking at repurposing some money because we applied in 2 different grants for the same things because we wanted to make sure we got that covered. That was our priority. Now that it looks like the one is going to pick it up, Kevin, we were just in a meeting on Thursday where we found out we may be able to repurpose some of those double grants we did. We might be able to take it from one pile and move it to a completely different one, which would be the canal pump station. Because originally Holmont told us that if we put in the storage tank, we wouldn't need to repair and rebuild that full canal pump station we have on the other side by the park. Now they're saying that we're still going to need that to meet the water flows for fire protection and things like that. So we may be able, we didn't put that in the grant because we thought we'd be able to take that out. But now it looks like we might be able to repurpose some of the money, possibly to pick up all the repairs on that pump station and put it back in. So it's a game. It's a chess game. We're moving some pieces, but either way, financing looks pretty good.
We hired a consulting firm that's helping us through all this process too, which at first some people were questioning whether or not that was such a good idea, but from what I'm understanding, they're going to be well worth the investment.
They are worth every dime we're paying, and the red tape that you have to go through with FEMA. And we're just doing some more this morning, some red tape from the grant meeting on Thursday. It's crazy. It's a game. It's not a hard game, but you have to just keep doing everything they ask, sometimes 3-4 times. As long as you keep yourself in the loop, you get closer to getting the money at the end. So it's a thing, and the grant writer that we're working with, they're really good. And actually, they're a pleasure to work with. I can't say enough about them. So they're going to get, some of the grants, they get a 5% or 10%, but FEMA pays 5%. On the big piece of it, FEMA is going to pay the whole thing. Since Ian, they came back and said they were going to help the communities out after Ian, and they're going to pick up those charges. So some of it's going to be paid for completely by FEMA anyway, the grant writer. So it's pretty good.
This community in the past, when there's been hurricanes here, we really dropped the ball on going through things like this because we should have been able to pick some of this stuff up at the last hurricane too, but this is where we're at right now. While we've got everybody here, I would like to spend a little bit of time on the big picture of what we're going to do with restructuring our assessments on our ERCs. Now, the way I've been looking at it is, and this is just me, is I think that in the past, we have used assessments, especially the utility assessment. You know, you've got operation and maintenance, which is like 25% of your assessments, and then 75% of the assessments is to take care of the utility plant. But a lot of that was set up to basically pay off a debt that we had against that plant, which has been retired. So in reality, all we're doing now is paying for operation and maintenance for the entire community, including the utility plant. So I envision us changing things where everyone who has a tax ID number in here has a meter, and every meter will have a base rate on it, just like any other utility has. And that basically is to cover for your infrastructure, your pipes under the ground, and, you know, to keep your infrastructure current. So that, because that is not based on usage. That's just like streets. If you only drive on that street once a year, it still has to be paid for. And whether you're part-time or full-time, a lot of that stuff has to be paid for, whether or not you're using it or not. So, and then after that, then we figure out exactly what it costs us to produce our utility costs. And we spread that out over the ERCs. Now, there's been talk about getting rid of the ERCs, which, in my opinion, we can't get rid of ERCs, because the ERC really is essentially a right for 300 gallons a day for an ERC. And we have, when we designed the plant was designed to produce 300 gallons a day on 1,032 ERCs. So we have to keep that in place, but we don't have to keep those large assessments, non-ad valerums, on our tax bill. We shift that over to the utility part. That way, what you use is what you'll pay for. And I think that's a more fair way of doing it. Now, what that's going to do is it's going to take the burden off of acreages that aren't hooked up to the system, but it's going to switch it over to the utility bills, the people who are using it. There again, as more, and part of the reason for this is because if we want to see growth in this community, and I'm not saying growth for the sake of having growth, I'm saying if we decide that we want some type of business in here, or even just to keep our hotel afloat, we need to make these changes. Now, do you guys have any vision on how we go about this? I mean, this is just big picture. Our consultant will come in and help us with it a lot, but
Well, I think having a base rate for everyone that has a meter, I mean, that's what happens in the real world. But that's how you maintain your equipment. And that's more fair, especially to people who aren't here year-round. They're basically holding up the rest of us that are here year-round. It's a more fair and equitable way to do it. Any question?
okay, Ron,
Just a statement, I'll come up here, Ron Westerman, Case Drive. It's just a breath of fresh air to have a council here that can actually do things and have common sense about how we should go about our utility bills. A base rate is what you see in the real world with most any other place on earth. And then you pay for the usage of what you're using. And it's beyond time to have that done here in the community. It should have been done ages ago. So that's all I wanted to say. And
thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
I think moving forward, Kevin, you're going to get the proposal from our new company, right?
From the consultant?
Yes, from the consultant.
Yeah, we're working, I think Steve and I are gonna try to speak with him early next week.
Okay.
And he's continuing to put this stuff together. We're hoping to have some information from him Definitely by your April meeting.
We're pushing, because he got us backed up and we're pushing. That's why we're gonna continue to call him and talk to him.
Would it be worthwhile to put together a list of the things that we're not sure that he's got in that proposal?
Sure.
Well, that's all we're gonna talk to him.
Sure.
Okay.
If anybody on the board has any ideas or anybody else, get it to us, over the weekend and we'll make sure we include it in our phone call with him on Monday or Tuesday.
You're including the marina, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Everything,
So-
everything.
So anybody here from the marina? Anybody here from those big boats?
I stopped by there this morning and invited him to come,
Oh.
but, it's short notice.
Well, no, I don't mean they have to be here today,
Yeah.
but by the April meeting, when we have the consultant come in, they damn well better be here, and otherwise.
Well, and that's the other
For their
thing.
interest.
That's the other thing, that, that's a condominium, just like everywhere else is, and I have a slip over there as well, and it has a tax ID number, but it doesn't have a meter on it.
Yeah.
And I think, to be fair, every tax ID number should have a meter associated with it so that it can have a base rate associated to it.
But that would be a commercial meter if you're serving more than one.
You'd serve one vote.
Yeah, well, if you don't have to serve one vote and you have one that serves 5, that would be a commercial meter, and the base rate is different.
And that's all things that we can discuss, this is all.
That's the real world.
Yeah.
So, it can all be worked out.
Well, you said they're condominiums. Our condominiums, each one has a meter.
They do. We've been approached by some people from the Marina Condominium Association, the boat docks, and they asked about putting individual meters on because some people feel they don't use as much water as others and want to pay for their water usage. So that's something we have to look at going forward, is whether we should put individual meters on the boat docks for each one of them, since we have up to 118 liveaboard boats over there. Something we might.
Now, I've been going through the paperwork when Scott redid that. And at that time, they didn't have nearly enough ERCs on that, and they were told that they had to purchase, at that time, was another roughly 17 ERCs. I haven't found anywhere yet where any of that was ever done. I haven't found any minutes at any meetings or anywhere else that that was ever done. And so if you're talking 17 ERCs,
Times 16.
yeah, 15,000 or 16,000. And realistically, that should have been bought several years ago. So we're going to have, somebody's going to have to get a hold of Scott. And the other thing is, I don't know if you guys can go back in your accounting records to see if there was ever a check made out from PrepMac for ERCs, because I have not found any information anywhere.
We can check into the public records that we have and then go back as far as we can with the bank.
Yeah. And we'll ask Scott if he's, if he can show us a canceled check or a receipt or.
That would be the easiest.
Yeah. Okay. We've overlooked that, and we really shouldn't be overlooking that. That's a commercial thing for him, so. Anything else on the ERC thing? Is there anyone in here who has any ideas on how we should handle this? Go ahead, Steve.
Steve Gunther, Rick Cove, 2507725. Steve, one of the things that we're finding is pretty effective over here at Orchid Cove, because we've had.
Catherine, you can't hear me.
Go ahead, sorry.
That's okay.
I'll add my 2 cents when he's done.
Okay, that's great. One of the things that we found effective, because we've had a number of issues over here this past year, is we have taken a committee approach where, to help the board, you involve members of the community. I think this would be a great opportunity to get representation from people, so it doesn't put you in an awkward situation where it's, because you're a landowner here, to make sure that, we get input from the various factions in the community to help in this ERC study, so that you could get good input as part of the process, as opposed to coming up with something and then getting negative feedback.
I agree.
That would involve people.
That's a good idea.
I know your lawyer has always poo-pooed, but if, in my education, things with the Sunshine Law, you can do effective communities, and I think it's applicable here, so it's just my comment.
Yeah, Catherine has volunteered to help us.
Catherine Kellmeyer, B2 slip owner, former supervisor for the CID board. When that letter was done for Scott Preppin, when he was talking about expanding the marina, there was a system that was determined on the size of the slips, the ground underneath, that included a separate addition, slip size and ERCs that was associated with it. And that final okay by the board at that time is different than what was presented to Paul Montez for Scott Preppin's expansion. And when I sent that information to Tony and whoever else got it many years ago, when the formal expansion was recorded with Collier County, all that was in there as far as it was given to Scott in this way, but in the actuality, the ERCs were designated in a different category. One was taken out someplace in the middle. So you may want to make sure before you talk to Mr. Preppin that you have the right ERCs for what was done on the docks now, not what was presented originally way back when from PrepMac to Old Montez. So it changed. So be aware of that.
Right, I remember on the original, the way that they figured how many ERCs they needed was when they were assessing them at a 0.12 or a 0.008, which is, now we're at a 0.25 and a 0.5. So that's going to make a difference. Now, here again, it's just been overlooked and it needs to be relooked at. But getting back to Steve's thing there, Catherine can probably represent her community over there. If we could get somebody from your board, but I think we should have somebody from as many of the communities as we can, and like you say, come together and have a informational, as Tony calls it, committee.
And they can develop information and data to give to you guys, so you guys don't go to work.
Right, and we need to have input from the entire community so that we don't have this faction thing going on. And I mean, we're not going to make everybody happy, we never do. But at least everyone should have their voice. Anything else?
One thing we are trying to do is make it more equal, more fair, let's call it, equitable to everyone. But some people aren't paying too much and some people aren't getting a free ride. So it's part of our goal.
Is there any other public comments before we?
You're saying about
the
somehow Ernie Peterson, 170 Eastport Drive. You're just talking about the fairness. So it sounds like under your new plan, vacant land won't pay anything.
Oh, no. It'll all still pay.
How? They don't get a water bill.
Everybody has a base rate on their ERC allotments.
So that would come off the property taxes then?
Like it does now, yes.
Oh. I guess I am confused by the whole thing.
I know.
Welcome to the club.
It's convoluted because
you're talking about having this base rate on your utility bill like most communities do have.
Yeah.
And then it's so much per 1,000 gallons.
But each ERC is also going to have an operation and maintenance fee on it. Like right now, it has operation and maintenance, which is about 25% of our bill, which is $300-400. And then the rest of it was for the utility bill. We will still continue to have operation and maintenance assessments.
But not for the utilities. So the vacant lands aren't paying any money for the utilities.
Okay, well, Steve, can I say something? All right, so where we're different here with the CID, like, I'll take up north. I lived in Green Bay for most of my life. When you get your water bill, it has on there your meter, your base fee, right? It's always on there, right? And then you get your, what you use, and that's a utility company that does water and sewer. Here at Port of the Islands, we don't just do water and sewer, all right? We're doing your roads, we're doing all kinds of things, stormwater management.
But that's all on your.
Currently, it's in there, right? But the non-ad valorem that you pay right now is also based on bond issues that have been paid off.
But that's why we won't get rid of the ERCs, because we always have to have an operation and maintenance number. Everybody needs to pay that one, and that's irrelevant of utilities.
Yeah.
What he's saying is.
So, right, you've got two different kinds of ERCs right now. You've got one for utilities and one for operation and maintenance. Operation and maintenance will stay the same, but the utility one sounds like you're gonna get rid of that and put it all in the utility bills.
That is, well, but you'll still have the operation and maintenance part of the utility, you know, there's a number there.
One group of money has to pay for everything other than water, like roads and all that stuff, right?
I understand that.
Okay, and then then we gotta charge a meter fee and stuff for the water department, because that keeps up everything that the water department needs. You know, we get waste meters, we do this, we do that, right?
Yeah.
So there's a chunk there. We have to put these onto your bill differently. So like, right now we pay a couple $1,000 with the
18, something like that,
yeah,
yeah.
1800, whatever. We're paying that. That bill's gonna go down because we're not paying for a bond issue anymore. We have to lower that. We have to get that down, and we have to figure out what we need for the utility, to keep the utility running, what we need for the islands to keep the roads and the storm sewer and everything else we can do. So we'll come up with a way to do that, and that's what the company we hired is gonna help us figure out. Is how to
What
do
he's,
that.
what he's asking is.
Yeah, what he's
give
saying
us
is
a
correct.
Vacant property, you don't have a meter.
Right.
There's still gonna be that maintenance and that
Yeah.
base rate, they're still gonna be able to base rate.
But that's just for the roads and other things, not utility.
Right.
Because they're not using it.
So one thing that you're not thinking about is if somebody comes in here to buy a piece of property, those properties, they're gonna have to purchase the ERCs. Right, they're gonna have to buy in.
And hookup fees, yeah.
So there'll be like, right now in Collier County, what did you say it was, impact fee?
What, $25,000 a
Somewhere in
unit?
there. So if you build a house right now, you pay an impact fee to Collier County to buy into the system. Right, they're just getting that money, and it's because the system is there for you to hook into. Right, you're buying like.
And those impact fees, do they include schools and highways and things like
Libraries.
that?
That's
all
already,
part of it.
that's
right?
already
Yeah.
on your Collier County tax, schools and stuff is a different.
No, I mean these impact fees.
Yes.
But you pay those taxes on top of that, besides, you know, the impact is a one-time thing.
When you build a house, we said there's an impact fee.
There is.
All right. I already have a place. I don't pay an impact fee.
No.
But a new house coming in the community, they're adding on, using all the resources, increasing the traffic, they've got kids going to school, and that's why we have those impact fees for a new house.
Which unfortunately bothers me, because Collier County takes all that impact fee, and we're actually paying for all the impacts ourselves. We should be getting the lion's share of those impact fees.
But whatever you're doing here is not going to affect those impact fees, because that's Collier County.
That's Collier, yeah, we can't.
Unless
Unless we can go to Collier County and make them understand that this isn't fair and they need to change that.
On our list.
Well,
Yeah,
Excuse me, can I make a comment?
sure. Who is this?
Yeah, this is Joe Levy at Windward K. So the impact fees in the Port of the Islands are less than in Greater Naples, because we do have our own, we take care of our own roads. So anybody building a brand new construction here, and will be pays substantially less than if they were be building in Naples. So that's where you guys could pick up the difference. So let's say impact fees, if I was building the exact same house in Naples, the impact fees would be about 30,000. The impact fees in the Port of the Islands is about 16, 17,000. And that's because we are sufficient. We have our own roads and pay for them. But the Port of the Islands isn't charging. The CID is not charging the new build anything impact fees, and that's probably where you can catch it.
Well, that's because
So
they're
it is
already,
different. It is different. The impact fees greater at Naples and Port of the Islands. They're quite a lot cheaper here.
but it
That's all
will
I have to
change.
say.
Because we're gonna have an impact fee. Basically, they have to purchase an ERC. That's gonna be the $16,000. That'll make it up. But you're right,
Yes.
the way you're explaining it is correct. There won't be a ERC charge on vacant land, and the charges on the hotels is gonna change too.
I was trying to figure out too how we were coming up with what an ERC is worth. And I just did it down and dirty on it. Basically, we got $15 million worth of assets here, roughly in that area. And we have 1,032 ERCs. So you just divide it out and it comes up to $14,500, $15,000. So we are, like when Mr. Case offered to pay 16, there were trade-offs in there for that. But we're right in the neighborhood. But if you want to be part of this, you're more than happy. Come and help us.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. We appreciate your time.
Have your name now.
Thank you.
Sir?
Yeah, name's Dave Jerrick, Orchard Gold. Couple things on the property price. You guys think about liability insurance and maintenance, because if you don't keep it clean, someone does fall, it goes over the brick wall, you guys will get sued.
Yeah, we've got liability insurance on everything here.
Yeah, but you might want to watch if it's open to the public, everybody around here, you're gonna get kids playing over there.
Yeah, we need some signage.
You need to really watch what's going on.
Okay.
It's just something to think about.
Thank you. Is there anything else before we adjourn? Anything else? I mean, landscaping, bring up anything that you want.
I have one thing I missed, I didn't miss, I just didn't get to, I guess. Kevin, along with the grants, I want you all to know that Kevin works very, very hard on those grants, along with the grant writer and myself. And but he deserves a lot of credit for that too, because he's doing it every day.
And thanks, Dave and Frank, for coming in on the off week here. Thank you. All right.
I have one other comment.
Sure.
Mike King, Orchid Cove. I'm on the landscape committee here. And one of the things we've noticed is that the landscape water that we're getting now puts a white film on most of our shrubbery. And we're wondering what's going on.
We've had comments about that, only it wasn't white, it was rust.
This appears to be white, and it's just
a lot of times white is dissolved solids, salts and everything else is in there. We obviously must not,
Just solids.
just whatever it is.
But it has changed, and I'm just wondering, could we talk to the butter people and see if something's changed or?
We've had them look into this in the past quite a few different times.
Oh, really?
And it's kind of like we're stuck with what we got. But yeah, we can talk to them again.
Okay.
Sure.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. What else?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment.
In your name, please?
Joe Levy at Windward K. I would like to, I want to applaud everybody who did that work at K's Drive at the entrance. I mean, it looks so beautiful now, and I think it brings value to our community. People drive in, especially in Naples. A lot of the communities are very well manicured. I'd like to see a portion of the budget go towards maintaining and upkeeping and doing some other stuff at the other entrances and all over the port. I think that we should put aside a substantial amount of our budget for that to beautify our community. It just adds value to everybody's property, and it's also pleasant when you're driving in. And it's just so nice now that when you drive into that entrance. Before it was those walls all moldy and stuff. And I know it was a group effort, and I appreciate everybody who did that. But I also think that the CID should take a part of our budget and put money into beautifying the three entrances and wherever we see needs to be taken care of, because it just makes it a so much more pleasant place to experience when you're driving in and in our community.
I agree with you, Joe. What I would ask is for members of the community to give us some recommendations on what you'd like to see done. We don't all see everything. I mean, we see what's going on there, but if you look at something long enough, you don't see it anymore. And I never realized how bad Kay's Drive was until we got it fixed. One other thing about Kay's Drive is we want to put some more signage on it. Before at one time it said the K's on there. If somebody has some ideas on something that we should put on there, it looks a little bare right now. So we should do something, but I really would like to have more input from the community on this beautification stuff.
What if we have a committee, since we're talking committees, that, there's plenty of people in our community that know about plants that are native plants that don't need a lot of maintenance, and maybe some people with the qualifications would do a committee and come up with some designs, or even hire out a company. The CID could give us some ideas and some plans for the three entrances to beautify them, because some of them are overgrown. They haven't been maintained. The flags at the entrances, I mean, we've paid for them personally. I know Lisa and I have changed it ourselves because they were just ripped up and it looked terrible. So
Joe, how do we go about establishing a committee?
Are you volunteering?
That was what I was going to say.
You want to pick it up a committee?
Kevin, could we put that on the website? Could we have a page on the website where we could list the committees and people could sign up? Is that possible?
Oh, we certainly could put it on the website if that was, if that's what you want to do.
Melanie, that's a good idea.
Worked during the yard sale, and she was interested in getting volunteers over there to do Newport.
We're focused on financing big time here and the big picture stuff. It would really help us out if we had people working on this other stuff that may be falling through the cracks for the board.
Well, especially now that if you're acquiring that lot on K's, that would be a nice place to put some trees and wooded area, maybe some benches, just a park, nothing expensive. But it just looks nice on the community rather than that burnt out grass. I mean, it just brings value to everybody here. Not only property value, but also quality of life value.
Yeah, we need to get, we'll have to put some signage up out there that would say that this is for Port of the Islands residents only. And I'd love to see us try to get some donations to buy some concrete benches and maybe some tables or something that we could put down there. But I'd like to see them in the concrete, because then we don't have to worry about them during hurricanes and blowing away. And other than somebody painting on them, they probably shouldn't be able to be damaged. But we should be looking into something like that so that people have a place to sit down there. I know this is getting way ahead, but I actually thought about possibly at some point putting some bathrooms in there with codes on the doors, so that you know how it is here with the elderly people are always looking for bathrooms, and that way too, if we had picnics or something over there, we could possibly have facilities there as well. That's just a spitball of mine coming to start with.
Well, donations is a good idea, but I think if we had a substantial budget every year that we can put towards beautification of the port, we could use some of that money if we don't have to use it every year, but do something to keep the port nice.
I agree with you, Joe.
Steve, one of the things that we've done in different communities, whether it's Lely Resort or Pelican Marsh, places like that, we've engaged a landscape architect to develop a landscaping plan that can be phased in, and with ideas, with pictures, overlays. That's another direction that we could go, is to develop something like that, and then if you want to fund it.
My only hesitation on that is Laley's and them have a lot of money to work with. We have a limited budget. I hate the idea of going out and hiring experts to tell us what we need to do when we've got experts living all over in here. I mean, if that's what the community wants, yeah, I'm all for it too. But I'd love to start out with volunteers and committees and whatever, do as much as we can ourselves without having somebody else pay for it, because we'll spend ourselves into the problems again otherwise.
Well, that option is there. If you
I thank you for that. Anything else from anyone?
One quick question, Kevin, maybe you can answer this. The median on 41, are we getting anywhere with Collier County to help pick up those expenses?
It's on our list.
And that's the next thing we need to go.
Talk to them about certain things, and that's one of them.
Are we going to a couple commissioners?
We need to go to a commission as a board.
Tony's putting in a petition for us.
Okay.
Certainly. Following up on your comments just now, people are complaining about the cost of maintaining the median, and Joe wants to add additional costs to, for the entrance. I agree with that, but it just seems to me you've got a part of the community that doesn't want to pay for the median, which actually makes our community look nice from the highway.
I wouldn't say that we don't want to pay for it. It's just Collier County pays for all the medians on Collier Boulevard and Davis and all those medians.
Yeah, we're like the redheaded stepchild. We pay for our own.
And we're part of Collier County, we're paying them all our tax money, and I don't see it coming into our median.
But we signed an agreement years ago to create that median in all of the landscape.
We did.
So.
But it doesn't mean that we can't ask for them to take it over.
We can ask, but I think they've asked in the past and they've been told no several times.
Well, maybe we have to ask harder.
Okay.
Persistence, yes.
Do that.
Okay, under public comments, I'd like to comment that apparently the thefts have increased here at Port of the Isles. So,
Boats are getting broken into.
Really?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of chaos going on at night.
So, I think that we should address that in the future, and maybe even take another look at the gated communities where the gates come down, they go up automatically, but it takes a picture when anybody drives through or around the gates. So that's my comment.
Yeah, I don't know about the gates, but I would really like to see us get some. I mean, nowadays you can put in those Arlos and all these other different things that don't cost hardly anything. And we really should start monitoring what's going on, and especially at night. And now that we're saying that too, we've got street lights all over the place. Over in Stella Maris North, they've got that big cul-de-sac in the back there. They have no street light back in there, and that's where some of this stuff is going on. And maybe that's where the people are coming in from the highway. I'd kind of like to see us put a street light or two in there.
Let's do it.
Well, should we make a motion then to hire at least, whatever the acronym is, to come in and put in one or two lights? What do you think, Frank?
I think we should look at it.
I think we want to be involved in that, and I'm sure we'll cooperate in any way we could.
Okay, let's do that.
Kevin,
I think we should look at all the communities.
Is there any other communities here where
Do
you're?
you have any dark spots?
I noticed yesterday they came and fixed my light, but the light on our street didn't work again last night.
The spot in between the marina entrance that has a light and Sunrise K has a
Well,
light,
what?
there's also.
Why don't we do it in 2 weeks? Why don't we, let me get a list.
We'll just get, yeah, let it go, let it go.
It's blank in between.
So send us a little note saying that's what you think we need,
Sure.
and
Will do.
we'll work with that.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I want to go over it now.
One other public comment. Is there any way to expedite your signage for the ponds? where
Yes,
we're
I've got the
gonna-
signs already, I just need to put them up, and they'll
Okay.
go in the next couple days.
Okay, because we had fishermen
I
out here
heard.
today.
Yeah, and what they're doing is they're coming in there and they're catching out the fish for bait, because they got their boats behind, they're coming in there, they're collecting their bait, and then they're leaving. That's what's going on.
Are they netting?
And their
Yeah.
form is.
Yeah, yeah. So, yes, we'll get those signs up whether or not they'll heed them or not. Anything else? Appreciate you all coming today. Thanks for your comments.
March the 15th is your next.
March 15th,
Gotta adjourn this
2 weeks.
Who made a motion to adjourn?
We're making it now.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Yeah.